Welcome back. It is 8:15. New research published in the Journal of the American Heart Association raising concerns about the amount of time kids and teenagers spend in front of screens. That study finding that more recreational screen time, from phones to gaming to streaming, all of the above there, is linked to higher risks for heart and metabolic problems, even starting in childhood.
Well, joining us this morning is Jeffrey Decker from Corewell Health to help us unpack what that could mean for families. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about this new research. What's your takeaway after reading what was published in the journal there?
Yeah. So this is a publication that just came out in the last couple of weeks through the Journal of the American Heart Association out of Denmark, looking at kids, adolescents, ages 10 to 18, and use of screen time and how it affects their metabolic health. Okay, when we talk about metabolic health, that are things that can over time lead to increased risk of cardiovascular disease. So we're talking about their weight, their blood pressure, their cholesterol, their metabolism of sugar and glucose. And really what this study showed, probably not terribly surprising, is that more screen time is associated with more cardiometabolic risk. And I think we can probably think through why that might be, but this is really one of the first formal publications recognizing this.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I think all of us kind of did understand that at some point we are going to see effects of screen time in some way, shape, or form. So it's interesting that we're now just seeing these studies come out. When we're looking at it, what would you infer about the study? What do you think is happening here? Why do you think screen time is correlating here?
Sure. Well, it's been known for some time that screen time, and when we talk about screen time, we're talking about not just phones, because usually that's kind of nowadays what we think of, social media, using our phones, but it's all screens, TVs, computers, tablets, gaming, these types of things. And we know that there's been an impact on, people, in particular children's mental well-being with depression, anxiety, especially with social media and screen time. But now we're recognizing that it is affecting cardiometabolic health. If you think of what you do when you're looking at a screen, you're usually sitting, right?
Sitting, yeah.
Not only are you
laying
laying down, you're not moving. You're usually not drinking water and carrot sticks. If you're eating a snack, is probably something that's not in your best health interest. And sometimes those screens then lead to you not getting to bed as early. Other things that also impact your overall cardiometabolic health. So that's probably the biggest reason why we're seeing this impact.
Interesting.
Yeah, now you mentioned too not getting to bed as early. We just talked too before we came back about lack of sleep and how that can have an impact on health, of course. What did you find in this study when it comes to less sleep, shorter sleep times?
Absolutely. I think over the last few years, sleep is finally getting the attention that it deserves from a health standpoint, especially cardiovascular standpoint.
Yeah.
And that's why sleep was added as the 8th essential component of good health by the American Heart Association from the 7th to the 8th. This study showed that children, adolescents who got more appropriate sleep, actually that kind of counterbalanced the negative effects that some of this screen time had. So when they looked at kids that actually were getting that 10 hours of sleep in the younger kids, 8 to 10 hours of sleep in the adolescent population, that helped offset some of the negative impact of the excess screen time. It just goes to show that when you go to bed and the amount of sleep that you're getting has major impacts on your health and in particular your cardiovascular health, reducing the risk of future cardiovascular events.
I do definitely agree with that because, you do sometimes feel, especially us, like we go to bed at very odd times of the day, like 7 o'clock, hopefully before 8 o'clock is when we have that cutoff. But I think we do sometimes feel the effects of how sleep impacts our body, of course, long-term effects.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure that there's a long-term effect there as well. So when we're looking at screen time, and, we are getting ready to go back to school, right? A lot of lessons do involve screen time, and then outside of that, whatever you do, like maybe you're watching TV, playing video games for those teenagers, adolescents, what would you recommend to parents as we head into a new school year? And, we're getting ready to open it up to even more screen time potentially with those lessons that sometimes do fall virtually.
Right. Well, we live in a day and age where you have to use screens for certain things. There's educational advantages, work advantages. So we are all going to be using screens. That's the reality of life. And they've actually made our life simpler in many aspects. But there is definitely a threshold where that pendulum swings over to where it's now negatively impacting your health. So I think having healthy conversations with your kids or adolescents and include them in the conversation, help them understand why we're deciding to kind of limit the amount of screen time, maybe together come up with ideas that might be ways to limit the amount of screen time, chunks of time when they get home that you're not using screens in the evening, where you're interacting with family, you're getting outside, you're moving, you're doing things. I'm a big proponent of not having screens in the bedroom, so, Ask my kids, we never allow them to have their phones in their bedroom. They don't have TVs in the bedroom. So at least that is another place that's an area that's more ripe for them just to go to sleep and do things that are more relaxation. So I would say start there, but you have to be a parent. You have to probably be involved and really actively manage and come up with some boundaries. And I would also tell parents and adults, lead by example. I mean, if you're always on your phone, you're always on a screen, it's hard to kind of limit your children from their screen time. So I would encourage that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we're talking about screen time too, we're talking a lot about the offshoots of what that can mean. Additional screen time meaning less sleep, meaning less physical activity maybe. Would you say that the main health risks that are associated with screen time are because of those offshoots, or is there still quite a bit of an impact from maybe the blue light or something to do with the screens themselves?
Well, it's a good question. I think the majority, at least from the cardiovascular standpoint that we're seeing, is more due to the inactivity. And they saw in this study, it raises blood pressure, waist sizes were larger, cholesterol went up, insulin resistance went up. All these things then go on when you're older in life to have high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, high cholesterol, which then leads to more cardiovascular disease. And what's by far the biggest killer in our country? It's cardiovascular disease, by far, way more than cancer and other sources of problems. So.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of this, is tied to also diet when we're using screen time. Can you talk about the importance of a healthy diet? I mean, regardless of what you may be doing, but having a healthy diet is probably a good idea anyway.
Absolutely. It's a conversation I have every single day in my office with the patients on a very regular basis because, for good or bad, we've made a lot of different food choices be very easy, and sometimes the easiest things, unfortunately, are not the best for your overall health, and sometimes they're the least expensive too. But we're also blessed to live in an area, West Michigan, we have access to a lot of fresh, especially this time of year, a lot of fresh produce. So really it's making choices to incorporate a lot of plant-based foods into your diet.
Yeah.
Fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans, lentils, all these things which really lower your overall cardiovascular risk, better your cholesterol, improve your blood pressure, keep your weight in check. So that's really what I encourage, to try and choose some of those healthier snacks and food options.
Yeah, we've got screens all around us, but notice we put our phones behind us so we're not paying attention to them. And of course, maybe getting away from that screen and getting outside to do something might be a little helpful too.
Yeah, and that can be kind of tricky to approach with kids too. A lot of them are kind of seeing their screens, and there's all these fun, bright colors.
Like, I want to watch TikTok.
Exactly.
I want to do all the games and stuff.
Yeah, definitely a tricky conversation for parents to have. What would you say is a realistic first step in being able to reduce screen time for their children?
Yeah. So another good question. So, we have a movement disorder in this country, and you don't need to see a specialist or get testing done. It's just we need to move our bodies more, and it'll solve a lot of this movement disorder. And I'm not talking this movement, okay?
Yeah, the up and down and tapping,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
So I think, again, and this is great as a family, turn the screens off after dinner, a couple hours, go outside, find something to do collectively as a family, whether that's take a walk, play a game in the yard, go for a swim, a bike ride. We are very fortunate and blessed in West Michigan. We have access to so many parks, lakes, rivers, walking trails, hiking trails. Those are just great opportunities, free entertainment, and also you're improving your overall health. So I would kind of try and start with those areas, but really have defined at least times every day that you're getting out, you're doing something, you're moving. Your kids will probably fight it at first, but I think with time, as they get accustomed to it, they might actually come to actually really look forward to it. I think it's a great way to also grow closer with each other as your family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just threw a lot of information at everybody. If there's like one or two takeaways you would tell parents, especially as they get ready to go back to school and try to get back into that routine of a normal life day to day, what would that be? What would that takeaway be?
I think it would be the following. Number one, model good screen behavior yourself for your children. Number two, set boundaries for screen time. And sometimes that has to be enforced, very intentionally. And I would encourage you to see if you can work with your kid to come to some mutual agreed areas, but make sure that there's everyday times that you're not using screen. Sleep is extremely important, and sleep does help offset some of the negative effects of excess screen time. So try and incorporate a good amount of sleep. Usually for adolescents, that's a good 8 to 10 hours. For younger kids, that's more. And then move more. Whatever it is, whatever you want to do, whatever activity, get out and move your body. All these things together will collectively improve your overall health.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time this morning helping us break down this report and how West Michigan families can kind of help lead a healthier life, especially when it comes to screen time and their heart health. Dr. Decker, we appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure. Have
All
a
right.
great day and get your sleep.
Yeah, get our sleep. Honestly, I need to get in bed a little earlier today, so I need to offset some of that. All right, thank you.